Contractors Association, GECA. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Eid Mubarak to you.
Eid Mubarak.
How are you doing this morning?
Alhamdulillah. How are you too?
I'm doing very well. You look so vibrant this morning. I'm sure you've been looking forward to today for a while now. Now, for Muslims, what does this celebration mean for Muslims all over the world?
Yeah, so what it means to us is sacrifice. It means the essence of the celebration is sacrifice. We commemorating Abraham was instructed by Allah Almighty through his dream to make a sacrifice.
That's
and in
right.
this case, it was his son, his first son, who is Ismail. And so Abraham mentioned the dream to his son that this is what I've seen in my dream. And then as obedient as the son was at the time, he said to his father that do as you wish. And then so they agreed that he was going to sacrifice him as instructed by Allah Almighty. And in the course of preparing for the sacrifice, Allah Almighty gave Abraham a lamb. And then the lamb was used to replace Ismail. So today, all Muslims across the country or across the globe will commemorate that day by making sacrifices as well. Yeah, and today happens to be the 8th day on the last month of the Islamic calendar, which is the 1444. And it's actually a very great day for Muslims. And today is the 3rd day of the Hajj pilgrimage. So if you go to Mecca today, people are winding up to complete the Hajj pilgrimage. So today is a special day for all Muslims across the globe.
That's amazing. And in terms of the celebration throughout the day, what will most Muslims be doing starting from the morning?
Yeah, so I mean, there are so many activities, especially for people who intend making the sacrifice, which is slaughtering an animal or something. You are required to fast for this short period. For some areas, the prayers begin as early as 7.
Okay.
Some places around 10, and then the national one is around 11, 12 thereabout. So after that, the imam of the community or the national imam will slaughter an animal. After which, everybody who partook in the prayer will go home and now slaughter an animal. So when you slaughter the animal, it is not just for the meat, it is a way of cleansing your sins and all that. So we believe that immediately the animal is slaughtered, by the time the first drop of blood touches the ground, your sins will be forgiven. So when you have slaughtered, the animal is not for you to keep. There is a formula that the meat will be shared, and normally you share it in 3. The 1/3 you give it out. The first of the second you keep, you celebrate, you eat it and all that, and then the 3rd one you keep it for your family. So it's basically a way to share with people, to share with your community, and to share with the less privileged.
So this is the celebration where all your friends come knocking on your gate. Where's the meat? Where's the salah meat? I'm here for the meat. Okay, so now we have a heads up. There's going to be a lot of meat in the system for us to all celebrate with and share and enjoy. So to all my Muslim brothers and sisters, when I close from here, you know where I'm headed. I'm coming to your house. We're all going to celebrate and eat.
And to my Muslim brothers and sisters, we all know there's the spread of a virus. It is the anthrax. So there's been some publications or some instructions on how to look out for the healthy animals and all that. Don't buy animal that shows signs of sickness and all that. And make sure, we've been advised to even keep the animals for several days before today, which I'm sure a lot of my fellow Muslims have adhered to. So make sure you are slaughtering a healthy animal so that you don't get infested or infected with the virus.
I think that's a very important point to note. I think many of us have even forgotten that there's something like that in the system. So for all of us also to be observant, make sure we consume meat that will be healthy for us. Now, speaking of making sacrifices and looking at the terrain that we find ourselves in, things are not so good for a lot of people. Economically is what I'm referring to. Is that going to stop some people from being able to really celebrate on a day like this?
Yeah, so the truth is that times are hard.
Yeah.
And if you go around town, you find that the vibe is not really there. And so, but for us as Muslims, it's a responsibility.
Okay.
For you, as long as you have the means, you have to do it. So any Muslim or every Muslim that has the means, I mean, there's no excuse. As long as you can afford, it's very important that you observe the sacrifice.
And as much as some we Christians are praying for the stability of the economy, I know Muslims are also equally doing same. What do you make of the current terrain in terms of business, life, and all of that? What do you make of the current economic situation, just on your personal pocket? I'm always curious to find out how everybody is faring.
So I'm a businessman, of course. I'm an electrical contractor. I can tell you for a fact that the jobs are not there. My colleagues and everybody is crying for jobs, especially, the government is the biggest spender.
Yeah.
So the government projects have stalled to some extent. So it is really affecting everybody. And added to that, payments are not being made, so it's making even things even worse. My colleague electrical contractors, who most of us our livelihood relies on the works that we do, especially for Electricity Company of Ghana. I'd like to use this medium to tell them, as much as they are going out there to take monies from their customers, they also should sit up. They should try as much as possible to look at us and make sure they pay us. They have monies that they owe us for a long time. Can you imagine we're still being owed for works that we did during PDSSR? It's very pathetic.
And those monies have not been paid.
Those monies have been locked, and ECG is telling us that they can't do anything as long as the matter is at the court. So in the coming days, we intend taking steps to address that.
How do you intend to go about it?
Yeah, so we are in a situation, and we cannot fight for people who do not give us their mandate. So in the coming days, we intend organizing a national forum for all electrical contractors across the country, where we meet and take a decision on the way forward. We know we have a lot of cards on the table, and we are sure that by the time we take the steps, some solution will be found.
You think that's that has become necessary in order to obtain what you are owed?
Madam, some of our members are dying. You see the way people are complaining about the DDP, those bondholders, and some of our members, their livelihood is the job that they do for ECG. So for some of them, their funds have been locked. The little they have is locked up. You understand? And so they are not able to afford medical care. They are not able to even fend for their family. They are not even able to pay the basic necessities of life. And it's really, really, really a hell. I can tell you several members have died as a result of the challenges that they find themselves in.
That is very heartbreaking, because you alluded to the DDEP and all of that, and those are some of the stories that are quite prominent. We hear, but there are many others also who are suffering behind the scenes, who also need, to be attended to. But we digress just a little bit on that point. But let me say good morning and Eid Mubarak to Shamima Muslim. She joins us on the telephone line. She's the founder of the Alliance for Women in Media Africa. Eid Mubarak to you, Shamima.
Hi, Mubarak, my dear sister Helen. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm quite excited, but I'm also a bit somber, because it's really a period of deep reflection and spiritual assessment of your own growth as an individual, as a collective, as a family, to see how far you're on your spiritual journey, because as for the hereafter, it is a destination nobody can afford, but you're hoping and you pray that when the time does come, that your Maker is happy with you and that your deeds will speak for you on Judgment Day, and that you would find happiness and a good place, and you'll be amongst the righteous in the hereafter. So it's actually a very somber moment for many families, but of course we get caught up in the activities that sometimes you forget the real significance of the celebration.
And apart from these somber reflections that you will be participating in today, how else will you be celebrating and marking today?
So many Muslim families will be by now preparing to head towards their prayer ground to take part in the very significant Eid prayer. So we are preparing as a family to do that. But since yesterday, we're also getting ready for the festivities, the food preparation. As you called me, when your producer called me, I was asking the kids to start getting ready, and we're also in the kitchen because we do fast before we go for prayers. So every Muslim adult is encouraged, even children, to fast and only break the fast after the prayers. So we are cooking, but we are fasting. And so when people come back, they are usually hungry. So there's got to be something ready for the family members to eat. So that's what we're doing now. So when we come back from prayers, that's when the sacrifice of the animals will begin for most families. But mind you, the Eid celebration is actually 3 days. So some people will be sacrificing the animals today. Some will be doing it tomorrow. Some might even do it the day after. It's a 3-day commemoration of the festival.
Okay, so some of us who might not be able to get to the meet today, we still have some time, another 48 hours to locate that. In fact, your brother 62 says, make the location known today. He has an important message to deliver to you personally. He says he wants to see you personally. And do you mentioned briefly about the message of the day and the significance of the day, juxtaposing that against all the celebration, the merrymaking. Do you think sometimes the reflection gets lost truly in all of the excitement?
It does. I mean, because you remember, this is the festival of sacrifice, and this is the festival that celebrates the obedience when God asked Abraham to sacrifice his only son at the time, Ishmael, a son that he had waited so long on the Lord for, and then Allah asked him to sacrifice that son, and he obeyed. And because of that obedience, Allah promised him that his generations unborn will be exalted and his line will be exalted. So we Muslims are descendants of Ishmael, the first son of Prophet Abraham, and we commemorate this day to remind us that indeed, when we put our faith in Allah and we obey his commands, we will not be amongst the losers. And it is also to let us know that there is reward for the righteous man and woman, the person of faith that obeys the commands of Allah. But when you now look back at our society, in our community, there are so many ills that are far departures from what the faith, Islam, teaches us. So it is moments like this that we really need to reconnect. I mean, if you're watching the videos from Hajj, when you go to Hajj and Mecca and you stand before your Lord and you're naked and you know that the Lord sees all of your flaws, all of your sins. I mean, there are poignant moments that truly, when you do come back, we don't even expect. We expect you to live a life like an angel, but you know the human heart. It's difficult, and that's why Allah enjoins us that we should ask him for forgiveness as many times as we should, because we are fallible, and he realizes that we are fallible. But there are also consequences to actions, and no matter what you do, no matter how what remorse you say you show, once you continue to do certain things, it's like you are throwing you're not respecting the God you say you serve. So you go and do something, you come, Ya Allah, forgive me. You go and do the same thing again. Ya Allah, please, I'm weak, forgive me. How many times do you want to keep doing that? Because Allah is giving us the spirit to overcome ourselves. So if you're truly remorseful, you must take concrete actions to stop yourself from going back and falling back into your old ways. So sometimes I'm a bit troubled at how we celebrate with indiscipline. We make so much noise and inconvenience in our communities. Please, let us reflect the teachings of Islam, because it is when we do that we become congruent and we truly become aligned, with the purpose that Allah has created us for, and we will then stand to gain the benefits from the obedience of the dictates of Allah.
Very powerful indeed, Shamima. And we'll add some more voices to the conversation. Allow me to say good morning, Eid Mubarak, also to Alhaji Mustafa Idris. He's a lecturer at UPSA and also an imam. Good morning, Alhaji.
Good morning.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Again, Eid Mubarak to you. How are you celebrating today?
As usual, let me say good morning and let me say good morning to all Muslims in Ghana and throughout the world. And Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim brothers and sisters wherever they find themselves. The Eid celebration is something that we have been doing all these years. So it's actually not going to be different from the way we have always been doing it. There is a morning where when you wake up after Fajr prayers, you need to say what we call the Takbirat. And then after all the prayers, the 5 daily prayers, continue to do the Takbirat. And we will have to do the Takbirat from our homes to the prayer ground. And there are several prayer grounds in Ghana and in Accra where we are going to have the Eid, like the UPSA campus where we're going to have Eid prayers, the University of Ghana campus where we are going to have Eid prayers, and all other places we're going to have Eid prayers, inshallah. And that is how it's actually going to be celebrated. And after the Eid prayers, the Imam will do a sacrifice, and after the sacrifice, then all the other members of the congregation can also depart back to their various homes in order to be able to engage in the sacrifice.
And what will be your key message today for all Muslims?
Inshallah, my message for the Muslim Ummah today is going to be on patience. How is a Muslim going to be patient? Why should a Muslim be patient? Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking us to be patient? Everything that you do that is supposed to be patient. We need to be patient with our people. We need to be patient when we are grieving. We need to be patient when we are happy. We need to be patient with our families, our friends, so that we don't endanger any kind of anger amongst us. And that is the message that we're going to deliver to the Ummah today.
A very important one there. I think that message of patience is one that is very necessary, especially in the landscape of today. And I know all of our Muslim brothers and sisters will be waiting for that message and also waiting to celebrate and enjoy everything that the day comes with. Shamima, of course, says that we have to also reflect and not get caught up too much in all of the excitement that comes along with it. Shamima, I'm coming to you very quickly on this one. As a young Muslim woman celebrating, I see you looking very beautiful. For those of you who are watching us on Facebook, you see a picture of Shamima dressed very nicely. What do you make of the modern Muslim woman and her role in society?
Well, thank you for that. Indeed, I mean, there's a renaissance within the Muslim community, and that renaissance has really caught up with the Muslim woman. In the past, you would know that the educational and professional development outcomes for the Muslim woman was a barest minimum. This is not so anymore. Now, many families recognize the very importance of education and educating the girl child, that is. And this was a long time coming, because if you actually read the philosophy behind the faith and the dictates of the religion, every Muslim man and Muslim woman is enjoined actually to seek education. There are so many hadiths that speak about the importance of education. You must seek education, even if you have to go as far as China, and that education is compulsory for both the Muslim man and the Muslim woman. But unfortunately, in our communities, at the time of the colonial era, because the educational institutions were missionary-run institutions, they were changing people's names when you send your children to school. So a lot of, families decided not to take their children to school. When they made the decision to take the child to school, they would not take the girl child to school, plus poverty. Right now, it is not so. A lot of Muslim women are becoming high achievers, and I just want to encourage us to continue, because an educated mother is of more benefit to a family, than if the woman doesn't rise to her full potential, because we see the sheer resilience of our grandmothers and our mothers who had to go through so much, but were strong women. And you just know that had this woman had the benefit of an education, her level in society, where she would have risen to, because these are brilliant, hardworking women who are making living out of very desperate situations, have been able to raise children who are big men today and big women. So the value of education cannot be overemphasized. And I just need to encourage Muslim women. One of the other challenges Muslim women face is to express their faith, especially those who choose to wear the hijab. We are still in a society that is quite discriminatory, that still looks down on a woman who decides to wear a veil as a subjugated woman, a woman who is being forced to cover herself. But you know, when you wear the hijab, the dignity it brings to you. When you wear the hijab, you know, so many things are protected. You are protected from so many things, okay? So we just need to build an inclusive society where we respect each other's expression of faith. And so that you don't say that somebody who is wearing a hijab is not fit for a certain position. That's one of the things that is mitigating against the full participation of Muslim women, because I fear that if I come to this profession and if you have to tell me that I can't wear my hijab, and I believe so much in my hijab, it means she will not take up that opportunity. Do you see it?
Yes.
So please, let us build inclusive societies by deed, not just by words. Let us stop the discrimination, the subtle, sometimes overt discrimination against Muslim women because of our perceived stereotypes against them. We know they are brilliant. We know they are very beautiful. And we know that giving the right skills and opportunities, they are going to fly like an eagle, if not more. So let us encourage the participation of every member of our society, including Muslim women.
Shamima, thank you so much. I think that's a very powerful message. We'll let you go at this point so you can continue enjoying the day with the family. Do have an incredible one.
I will.
And that was Shamima Muslim, founder of the Alliance for Women in Media Africa. And let's also say goodbye to Alhaji Mustafa Idris, Imam. He's already let us know that today he'll be preaching about patience. So I know that the Muslim community will be waiting for that message. You have a lot going on today, Imam. We'll bid you farewell. But just before that, any comments on what our sister Shamima shared?
Yes, in fact, to add to what Shamima had said, especially when it comes to education, especially when it comes to girl child education or female education, it is very, very important. So I also want to add my voice to the fact that if we all take a decision to educate our female children, then it is going to add whatever we can do, because while you are a woman and you are educated, the home becomes more enlightened than if the woman is actually not that educated. That is not to say that our mothers who were not educated did not do well. They did their best, but we are in a modern world. We are in a world of education, and for that matter, everybody should wake up and make sure that our females get the education that they desire, inshallah. And thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Same to you. Same to you.
Again, that was Alhaji Mustafa Idris. He's a lecturer at UPSA and also an imam. He said the key message this morning and for the rest of the day as the celebrations go along is patience. And that's a very important message, if I do say so myself. But still in the studio is Awal. He's a young Muslim, and as Shamima was saying, it appears as though sometimes the real essence of some of these celebrations get lost because of the excitement. But she says we have to think about, the real essence, have some sober reflections. When you check the temperature, do you think that these days maybe young Muslims are just more excited about the fashion, the food, the enjoyment, more of the secular things, as opposed to the real essence of Islam?
The real essence is about obedience, and today I can tell you that the advent of modern technologies and other people are exposed to all manner of lifestyles and all that, and it's really affecting our attitude in diverse ways and all that. Now, and to parents, there's also a challenge. Now, when Prophet Abraham saw his dream, it was his dream, but he didn't force. The dream was to sacrifice his son, his first son for that matter. He didn't force the son. He didn't say, because you're my son, I'm getting people to tie you and then slaughter you. He suggested to the son that this is what I saw in my dream. And as obedient as the son was, the son said, you can go ahead and do as you please. So that is an obedient son. And then a father that was ready to build a certain consensus, if I should say. So I'm just saying this to let parents understand that we are as Muslims, we are required to discuss issues or to build consensus with our family. You are not supposed to force things on your children. And as a child, Allah places a lot of responsibility on you. In the Holy Quran, Allah says He instructs us to worship Him and Him alone. And to our parents, we should be obedient, and to our parents we should be kind. If one or both of them happens to be weaker than you in life, you have to spread out your wings of mercy and of whatever you can to make sure that your parents are. So obedience is key. If you're obedient to our parents, if you are obedient to the elderly, if you are obedient to authority, I'm sure that we'll have a better community to live.
And when we spoke with Imam, he says the message also is patience. Do you think we are patient enough as a people, or we need more of that these days? Any slight thing, your neighbor is angry, upset, everybody's temperature is quite hot. You think also that we need more patience to relate to one another?
Yes, we do. But we are human. The economic situation sometimes can easily make you go off, but that is not an excuse.
Right.
We all need to be patient. We all need to be sober. We all need to be reflective in our actions and inactions and all that. I think it will help a long way in building a better community.
Well, you are as I mentioned, the Ghana Electrical Contractors Association's president. How did that come about, for being so young?
Yeah, so I started, this is about my 23rd year practicing as an electrical person.
Oh, I see. You only look about 26, so you started around 3 years old.
Yes, I started very early, and I rose from the rank. I've been the regional secretary of the Contractors Association in Accra, and I at one time became the vice chairman and became the national general secretary, and by God's grace, I'm now the national president. So I went through the process. And by God's grace, my people rewarded me. I look young, but last week was about a year since I became the president, and I can tell you that we've done so much.
Okay, so happy anniversary is in order. About a year and a week so far in this role. And you say that in due course we'll be speaking on a different subject matter, because whilst you're celebrating today, there are some things that need to be addressed in the future. I know you have to go for prayer soon, but before we let you go, maybe a few tips for all of us as people are celebrating, jubilating, people are, doing their hair and ironing clothes and all of that. How can we make sure that we are protecting ourselves and our homes around this time? Some top tips for us as we celebrate today.
I always say electrical safety should be a lifestyle.
Okay.
In this premises that we are now, anything could go wrong. And so when it comes to festivity periods, people are in a rush to go out, and for that matter may forget to turn off one gadget or the other. My advice to you is that make sure you turn off. When you finish ironing your clothes this morning, make sure the iron is off, the switch is off, and you pull off the plug from the socket outlet. You could, a child or maybe someone who doesn't know, maybe just turn on the appliance and then you leave it go to your heat grounds, and God forbid, if you're not lucky, an undesirable situation can arise. And a lot of us these days use, the water is cold, we use a lot of water heaters.
That's right.
And for some of you who use hot water, the storage type, my advice is always to make sure that you turn the water heater on, let it warm the water as much as possible before you go into the washroom. Turn it off. Anything could go wrong.
So turn it off before you enter the washroom.
Before you go into the washroom, because if the water heater happens to be faulty, there's a likelihood of electricity or electric current flowing through the taps, and you can be a victim. So make sure you warm it as much as you can, and then when you're going into the bathroom, alternatively you can use your water kettle to boil the water, whatever. I mean, for a lot of us, our lifestyle is said that we want to use the shower and all that. So we all have to be careful in the use of our water heaters. And going forward, the best measure is to get a qualified electrician to assess your electrical system to be sure that indeed there are no leakages that could cause any harm to you and your family.
Very important. Well, Awal, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time. I know you have a packed day ahead, so we'll bid you farewell. Again, Eid Mubarak to you, and thank you for joining us. Last words for all your Muslim family before we bid you farewell.
Eid Mubarak to all Muslims across the globe, especially to the members of the Ghana Electrical Contractors Association, and to my 4 lovely daughters, Rukaya, Anisa, Husna, and Amira. I love you so much.
Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Well, let's check in with our Muslim family in Kumasi. Let's see what the vibe is, what the temperature is. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar joins us on the line. Eid Mubarak to you.
Thank you, Helen.
How are you doing this morning?
By His grace, we are good since we have life and good health.
That's great to hear. What is the temperature like in Kumasi? How are people starting off the day? Has the celebration started? Have the prayers started?
Yes, it's all about excitement today. With regards to the prayers, some even did it as early as 7 a.m. Some will be observing theirs at 8 and 9. Those who do the last batch will be at 10. So different mosques are doing it at different times so that in case you miss opportunity to observe it from mosque A, you should be able to catch up with B or C. But at least by 10, everybody should have finished observing the Eid prayers, and thereof they will begin with the slaughtering of the animals. So, with this anthrax scare and other things, it appears it has not really affected the celebration that much, because you move from household to household, you will see at least a sheep, a cow or something there ready to be slaughtered. This year, like we always say, every year the price keeps increasing and people complain about the prices and sales and other things. Yet on the day of the Eid, you will be surprised to see people just being able to afford it. Not necessarily. Now what people are doing is that because we want to be, the Eid should be easy for everybody to be able to be part. 4 or 5 people can come together, put together some money and be able to afford it. So this year, the prices, even though has kind of double or triple, people are still observing it. A cattle that last year you could have buy for 6,000 Ghana cedis. This year, you wouldn't buy it for less than 10,000 to 13,000 cedis. Some are as high as 30,000, 40,000 cedis for one cow. So you can imagine the increment. But like I said, it's a joyous day, and it's a day that people prepare ahead of it. This is the festival of sacrifice. So people do everything that they can to be part of it because of the blessings that come with it. And one interesting thing, just like the Eid al-Fitr, it is also a day of sharing. So those who cannot even afford to slaughter an animal, by the close of the day, you go to their home you find meat there, because it is structured in a way that even if I slaughter an animal, I cannot take the whole share. I'll divide it into 3. I'll have to take one, give one to my neighbors, then give the other to the needy in society, so that at the end of the day, everybody will be part of the celebration. So, despite the anthrax scare and other things, people are still eager to slaughter their animals, consume it, and do what so. But there were some guidelines, so that at least we will be able to protect or prevent this anthrax from. So now what I've observed is that the veterinary office has deployed their team to the various Zongo community. Initially, the communication was that for it to be easier for them, because they cannot be in all the homes to inspect the animals. So there was a proposal that we have a place, let's say a park for everybody to bring his or her animal to be slaughtered, so that the veterinary officers can check and make sure that the meat is safe for consumption. But that is likely to be a challenge, because we don't have that huge community park where holes will be dug for animals to be slaughtered for the molding and other things. So it will be difficult, but the veterinary officers say they will do their best, move from house to house just to inspect the animals and make sure that they are safe for consumption. For Ashanti region, we are even fortunate that at the moment we don't have the anthrax in the country, because in the region, because of the ban on bringing animals from affected areas to the region. But one way or the other, some people can smuggle some animals in. That's why the veterinary officers have also intensified their activities to move from house to house. So the day is young, people are still out and about. I've seen some going to the mosque, some too are still at home waiting to observe DS at 10. So the mood is, it's more interesting for the kids. They move from house to house just to inspect people's animals, just to compare and contrast. Those feelings alone, it's okay for them. For the adults, usually when it gets around this
we're
time,
thinking about the pockets, of course,
because of the expenses and other things. But it's all good. And the most important thing is that we are alive and also in a very healthy state.
Amazing. And thank you so much for that very comprehensive updates. Again, Eid Mubarak. Have a fantastic morning. And of course, you've talked so much about meat this morning, so you know that we're going to be expecting the package. How soon?
Helen, you don't have problem at all. You don't have problem at all. Yours will be delivered by the close of the day.
Amazing stuff. Ibrahim, we'll hold you to that. Have an amazing day.
Thank you.
And that was our colleague Ibrahim Abubakar giving us a breakdown of what's happening in Kumasi. But let's also speak to another colleague, and this time let's speak with Christopher Amaku. He's in the Savannah region. He'll be letting us know what the vibe is over there. Good morning to you, Christopher. How are you, and Eid Mubarak?
Eid Mubarak to you too, Helen.
How is the feeling this morning? What is the temperature like? Talk to us.
Yes, so up north here in the Tamale metropolis, not all the Muslims are celebrating the Eid today. Some factions are saying that they are celebrating the Eid tomorrow, but the euphoria that accompany the celebration is high. People are going to the Eid grounds, especially those who are praying today are moving to the Eid grounds to observe the Eid prayer. Then after the prayer, the other activities will follow, like the slaughtering of the animals and visitation to family and friends will also follow. So the people are ready to be part of this year's Eid celebration. Fortunately for us up north here, we had some showers of rainfall early, around 4 to 5 a.m. And so the weather is good, and the Muslims are gearing up to go and pray and come and do the other activities. One thing has to do with the complaints, the usual complaints of hardship.
That's right.
Yesterday, I was at some of the animal markets in Tamale, and the concerns that people are raising is that the prices of these animals have shot up astronomically. Last year, a ram that you would have bought for 3,000, this year you buy it for 4,500. Those that you would have bought for 1,000 last year, this year you are buying for like 1,007, 1,008, and some 2,000. So the prices have actually shot up, and two reasons. The first one is the outbreak of anthrax in some parts of the Upper East region. So
that's right.
They are unable to go transport these animals to Tamale. The second aspect of it has to do with when it gets to this time, everyone becomes a dealer in these livestock. So you just have your money like 10,000, 5,000, you go bring like 3 or 5 of the animals that you also begin to sell to people. So the prices will automatically shoot up. So and most of the sellers have are also using this particular period to maximize profit, because immediately the Salah is over, the demand for ram and the cow goes down. So this is the time for them to also maximize some profit. So though they are in with a celebration, but the current economic hardship in the country is also biting on their activities. So people are actually managing. Fortunately for some government workers, yesterday they were paid, so they will push. Some of them were actually expecting the June salaries to be able to celebrate the Salah, and once they have been paid, definitely they are going to celebrate it as they are supposed to.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that update, Christopher. I hope you have an amazing day as well. Okay, and that was our Savannah regional correspondent, Christopher Marco, giving us a breakdown of what's happening on this very special Eid day. The issues about the cost of the meat haven't come up quite a bit this morning. The prices having doubled or tripled in some cases. But he says the celebrations still go on. Some will be celebrating today, others will be celebrating tomorrow. But we'll go on a very quick break. When we come back, there is more. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Support you, a bank that cares for you. Hand in hand, we stand with